This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 206 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
We've had a couple of weeks off, Cody.
Mm-hmm.
You got a haircut, I see.
I did.
Your first one in over a year.
Yeah, it's been some time. I don't have, as you referred to it as a mullet. It wasn't a mullet. It was just long hair, but...
It was very... With the hat made it very mullety.
Yeah, well... Yeah, I was looking a little like Joe Exotic, so...
There's an early pandemic reference there.
Uh-huh.
So you went and lived it up now that your vaccine is fully taken effect.
Mm-hmm.
You got a haircut, and you actually went back to a movie theater for the first time in over a year. Yeah,
it had been about 13 months since I had been into a movie theater, and so I rented out Palladium here locally, Santikos Theater, for basically an entire day. I mean, I rented out for 4 movies and just kind of hung out there all day and ate in the Rim area and had some drinks at the Palladium bar and just lived it up. It was great. It was it was a great experience to kind of go back to it after so long.
So describe what you did. You rented out the theater and you picked 4 movies from your own collection, right? For them to play Blu-rays?
Yeah, so Palladium has, or Santikos has, a bring your own Blu-ray option. So, like places like Draft House, you have to pick from a list of their movies. But here, I just picked some off the shelf and brought them in. So, easy peasy.
How was the picture quality?
It was perfect. Yeah, it was perfect. The sound was great too. One of the theaters was louder than the other, and it was really cranked up in there. But yeah,
does it blown up that big? Does it replicate a theater experience, or can you tell you're watching something meant for your home?
No, you really can't. Which is kind of the great part about it is that it doesn't feel like, so it would be comparable to like, if you put a DVD into your HD TV or something like that, where you can kind of tell that it's kind of shitty quality or a little pixelated or a little blurry, but here, blown up to full size. And this is what we did at Draft House, too. I would always bring in Blu-rays to Draft House, and it looks great. I mean, it just, it looks and sounds great. So I don't feel like it was missing anything, really. I mean, maybe like the crispness of, if there's a 4K projector in there, but... all things considered, it looked great.
Did so you had people coming and going, visitors or friends, and so what was that like? Did they have to pay per movie or what?
No, they did not.
So you just paid for everything, and it was free for anybody who wanted to come in.
Yeah, for this time around, I was willing to pay the money, and like someone bought me drinks or something like that, but. If you wanted to have like a little group of friends, and I may do this in the future, get a group of 10, 15 people who are vaccinated to pay $10 or $15 and watch a couple of movies. It would be very easy to do that. But it doesn't, again, when it comes to Draft House, and not to shit on Draft House, it's just their system is not as good, where I think each person who comes has to pay for a ticket on top of the reservation, on top of food and beverage deposits. So...
Man, I haven't been to Palladium since I left San Antonio, and it's I forgot about the bar they have up top. Like, there's those theaters that access the bar directly, right?
Yeah, so we were in one of those VIP theaters upstairs, and it's dead up there. The bar's closed down up there, but there's like there's 2 theaters that are exclusively upstairs, and then a bunch of the big theaters all have stairs that go up them that go into the bar, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, cool. What did you watch? What was your favorite thing that you watched?
I really enjoyed watching Celeste and Jesse Forever again. I watched that movie pretty often, and that was the first movie of the day, and I really enjoyed that. And then I ended with Upgrade, which is always really fun to watch.
Well, cool. The vaccine is fully in effect for me, but I don't know when I'm headed back to a movie theater. So
it felt pretty I mean, it wasn't crowded, first of all, so that was nice. Even, outside of my theater and stuff, there weren't very many people there. So I think if you went on like a non-high traffic time, it would be perfectly fine. I think you would feel very normal and fine and safe. But
yeah, we went to downtown Austin over the weekend, and there were quite a few people out and about, and it was weird, like not wearing a mask outside and being around people. It was strange. It was an interesting feeling, but it made me miss South by Southwest, walking around downtown. I can't wait till it comes back now.
Can't believe you're saying that.
I know, and I bitch about it every single time.
Every year.
Every year, like it's my last year. But now that it's been 2 years in a row that I have not been able to go, like literally not like it wasn't in person, I guess.
Yeah.
Now I want to go back. So let's switch gears to the other big topic today, and the reason we're recording this on Monday. The Oscars were last night, and we both watched the whole thing. You, at our erstwhile co-host Jocelyn's house, you had a cool projector set up. You were just projecting all kinds of shit the past week.
Yeah. She has she's she has a screen that hangs and pulls down on her like back porch, and so the screen is just hung, and so she had a screen but no projector. I had a projector but no screen. There you go.
It's a legit screen, like for projecting, or is it like a shade?
No, it's a screen. Like it's a pull down projector screen.
That's weird. Did they install it?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, and they just never got around to getting a projector.
I think they have a projector, but it wasn't accessible, or it was away. I can't remember. But I was just asked to bring my projector, so I don't know.
Okay, we want to project something. Can you bring your projector? So anyway, we watched the Oscars. A very different ceremony, produced by Steven Soderbergh. Kind of opened like a faux Ocean's 11 style movie, shot in a weird letterbox format, and kind of at strange angles. I guess the biggest talker about the Oscars is the major wet fart that it ended with.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, they really tried to shake things up, and Soderbergh said as much prior to the event, saying this is not going to be your typical Oscars. And the idea was that they wanted everything to look cinematic, right? And so that's why, you had those angles, the letterbox stuff, and they really fucked with the order of everything. Like, because right off the bat, they went with, what was it? It was original screenplay.
Yeah.
Which usually it's supporting actor that leads off the show.
Yeah. And I think both you and I noticed, like, we didn't quite get that they were actually introducing the category.
No, because there was no like jokey joke monologue that was happening. There were really no jokes almost the entire night, except for one strange moment. But I remember watching this, and they're just talking about some of the movies, and then who was it? It was Regina King, right?
Yeah. Immediately, and the
Oscar goes to. I'm like, what?
Well, yeah, because they in past ceremonies they do that bullshit where they'll randomly highlight something and like randomly because this is Regina King like basically talking to every nominee about them and like what they did, and they've done that before, but this time she did it like, and the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay goes, oh, wait, I didn't realize we were doing that.
Yeah.
And very few clips running, a lot of talking about it, but as you mentioned, the big shakeup was, I think, probably like 9:30 or something. Rita Moreno came out, and all of a sudden I messaged you and I said, are they doing fucking Best Picture right now? Which was certainly not the last award, which it always is the last award. It's always what is it? It's either actor or actress, director, and then Best Picture. And they did director like must have been like an hour into the show maybe, where Chloe Zhao won. So Rita Moreno has announced Best Picture, which went to Nomadland, which is fine. I was kind of hoping something a little more adventurous would win, but it's fine. So the two final categories were Best Actress and Best Actor, which Frances McDormand won for Best Actress, which was kind of a given. Another not so adventurous choice, in my opinion. But then Best Actor, which the writing was on the wall that it was going to be Chadwick Boseman, posthumously winning for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So much so that the Oscars essentially banked the whole finale on this. So you had Chadwick Boseman nominated, you had Anthony Hopkins nominated, and then you had Riz Ahmed, I forget
Stephen Yeun.
Stephen Yeun, and God, who was the fifth one?
The fifth.
Why am I blanking?
Gary
Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Yeah.
Anyway, so only two of those people are in the building. Stephen Yeun and
Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed. Gary Oldman's in London at the British Film Institute. Anthony Hopkins was at home asleep. And, of course, Chadwick Boseman has passed. Well, they announce... Joaquin Phoenix comes out extremely disinterested and announces that the winner is Anthony Hopkins, and he's not there. And we accept this award on his behalf. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Yeah.
And it was the worst wet fart, as I've said a bunch of times, of an ending that I could imagine for a ceremony like that. Oh, I don't know. What were your thoughts when it happened? I know you're fine with Anthony Hopkins winning, and I am too.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. It's tough because I think a lot of people just resigned themselves to Chadwick Boseman winning, and that was going to be it. In my opinion, Anthony Hopkins gives the best performance of the year of anyone in any movie. So for me, I mean, I think it's a well-deserved award. I mean, a lot of people were saying that, he gave the best performance of his career at age 83 or whatever in that movie. My instant response was, oh shit, because I did not expect that to happen. And then confusion at the fact that it was just over. And and so if you read a lot of the, conversation on Twitter and the analysis that's happening, a lot of people are not necessarily upset that Anthony Hopkins won a deserved Oscar, but the way that it was set up, they truly fucked themselves with this because, they put all of their eggs in that basket. They put all of their eggs in Boseman winning, and they didn't have an exit strategy if it didn't happen because if
there's no host.
Yeah, there's no host, but also the acting awards are big moments. Like when that happens, it's a big moment. And it builds up to Best Picture. And so if Chadwick Boseman doesn't win, then what? What kind of what were they planning for? What were they prepping for? It just doesn't make any sense. It was a baffling decision.
And it really does his legacy kind of dirty in the idea that they were manipulating this as a big emotional pop.
Yeah.
It would have gotten the same, I think, what they were looking for had it been, had he won, had it been in the natural order of things.
Yeah.
And, then you kind of rob Nomadland of its victory. And,
well,
and Chloe's...
shit. Go ahead.
And Chloe Zhao and Nomadland of their, the topping off of this thing, which they usually get, usually director, picture. And, Chloe Zhao makes history as the first Asian woman and only second woman ever to win Best Director. And it gets really just shit-canned by this stunt that didn't pan out because they banked everything on Boseman winning.
Well, it also does a disservice to Anthony Hopkins, too, the guy who won the fucking award. It's crazy. So now, instead of anyone talking about his award or his performance or anything else, it's this terrible moment that happened. So it does a disservice to Chadwick Boseman's legacy. It does a disservice to Anthony Hopkins, the guy who won the award, which I'll get to another point in a minute about why this was stupid. And it does a disservice to anyone involved in Nomadland. Frances McDormand for actress, as well as Chloe Zhao winning director, as well as Best Picture. It's not the thing that people remember or are going to remember from the night. And then you read articles from this morning about how, because they wanted this film sort of aesthetic to the show, that they did not allow Zoom calls, which is why the people who were international were filmed at satellite locations. You know, it's why Florian Zeller had that beautiful backdrop behind him when he was accepting his award, and everyone else who was in a different country. And Anthony Hopkins people and Anthony Hopkins were like, yeah, he'll zoom in, he'll be there for that. And they said no. They said no, you can't do it. So not only did they rearrange the order, but I mean, let's face it, Anthony Hopkins was the second most likely person to win. He had won the BAFTA. He was either going to be Boseman or him. And so if Boseman didn't win, they could have at least had a speech from Anthony Hopkins, which they did not have. So the whole thing just topples when that moment goes south, and now they have, you know, egg all over their face, and it's a bad look for everyone involved.
Well, and you know, it could have been. You want to avoid the controversial moments. You want to have it happen kind of organically, I guess, if you want the controversy, like the whole La La Land Moonlight thing. Like, I don't think there's anyone production-wise of the Oscars that had egg on their face from that one. That was all the accounting firm and the dipshit guy who was taking selfies and stuff. But that you planned for this emotional moment and didn't didn't deliver because you had no idea what was going to happen, and you were banking on this for some reason. It's so embarrassing for a ceremony that I didn't mind the setup. It was strange and not familiar, and if that's what they were going for, then I guess that was fine. But
yeah, but there was just a lot of short-sighted stuff. Like the most baffling thing aside from that of the night was the in memoriam section.
Yes, yeah.
Where it was like you could almost not even read the names. Like, it was going so fast that it was hard to keep up. And it was very, very odd, with an odd song choice too.
Yeah. The other thing that you know, I get they wanted the cinematic look, like they clearly shot it to look like 24 frames per second. But then whenever they cut to those satellite locations, it was just a HD TV shot. Like, it didn't look cinematic at all. It's just they're changing out, you know, Sacha Baron Cohen and Isla Fisher out in front of the Sydney Harbour Bridge for whoever else is in Australia. But the one scripted comedy segment that popped up, almost dead ass near the end of the show, they sent Lil Rel Howery out to like interact with the audience in a piece that felt to me really like time filler until it got to like one final joke with Glenn Close, which was clearly a bit. I don't know how did you feel about that until it, because I know you were a fan of the reveal, right?
I was a fan of the reveal. There was a moment where Lil Rel interacted with Daniel Kaluuya that was pretty funny.
When you're talking about Get Out and stuff?
Yeah, like he mentioned the sunken place to him.
Now he saved his ass from the in the
yeah,
woods.
exactly. I thought that was funny, but I was like, where is this going? What is this doing? This, because it was like one of those moments that felt like, you know, like a Jimmy Kimmel kind of hosting the Oscars, you know, interviewing actors in the middle of it kind of thing. And then, of course, the reveal of Glenn Close, I think, was pretty good. And I had a friend, James, send me a link that said today that it was scripted, and I was like, yeah, you didn't realize that, like, in the moment when Glenn Close starts talking about da butt, like, you don't know that that's scripted, but yeah. That
she had like encyclopedic knowledge of da butt. That it was written for school days and all this other shit. I mean, it sucks that you walk away from this thing only thinking about how shitty it ended. Yeah, and you know, it's really disappointing in a year that had real, good performances, and you have, any of those actors that won Best Picture, or excuse me, that were nominated for Best Actor would have been a great choice. But when you're clearly banking on one to win for the emotional punch that you think you're going to get is so cynical and so just craven for the moment, and you end up with this moment that everyone hates.
Yeah.
I can't believe they I can't believe they tried to go through with it. That seems like a first draft idea.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, Boseman will win, and then his widow will come up and give this moving speech, and everyone will be talking about it.
But to make that decision without a contingency plan is insane to me. On one of the biggest telecasts that you're going to have all year, you make a decision that's banking on one thing that you can't even, like, it's up for chance. You don't know what's going to happen. Like what happens if the moment that you're banking your entire night on isn't there? And again, you're going to get the moment no matter what.
I know.
If Chadwick Boseman wins and his widow comes up and gives a great speech and it happens and it's the second to last thing of the night, it's still great.
I mean, look at. The last time this happened with Heath Ledger,
posthumous award.
Yeah,
I
believe so. He won, and one of his family came up and gave a great speech. It wasn't, cataclysmically emotionally moving, but it was well done, and everyone was happy with it. With this, when it doesn't work out, it just feels like so stupid and so gross.
Yeah.
That I can't believe they approved it. I can't believe this was one of those things that got all the way through to the final draft.
Yeah.
Anyway, any big surprises for you? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think the biggest surprise obviously was Anthony Hopkins. I'm just trying to go through in my head here if I can think of anything that stands out. Because, I mean, I got a few things wrong, but it was,
I think the big shutout for Trial of the Chicago 7 was pretty significant. Did it only win one award?
I don't think it won anything.
I don't think it did either. Yeah, that was kind of surprising.
Yeah, because it had the best shot at like a screenplay or an editing award, and I'm really happy that The Father got adapted screenplay. That was up for debate a little bit because Nomadland had some traction, but I was glad to see The Father win adapted screenplay. Trent Rezner is now a multi-Oscar winner, which is hilarious to me.
With John Baptiste, they're like, just let John Baptiste talk. Like,
yeah, I mean, the really, because I think the more, that whole movie is about. I
think he was like the model for the character too, like the piano playing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
I think I'm glad Daniel Kaluuya won. I thought we talked how that was going to split votes between him and Lakeith Stanfield. It's weird that Lakeith Stanfield was in London, like with Daniel Kaluuya's mom and sister in attendance. That was one of my funniest moments.
When
he talked about his mom having sex, and then you can see his mom ask, "What's he talking about?"
Yeah, that's a good win. And then the Minari gets the one win with the supporting actress, which is a great performance and a great win. I was disappointed in
Collective not winning Best Documentary, but I mean, you can't. My Octopus Teacher is one of those things that's just kind of a dumb juggernaut.
Yeah, it really had no chance, quite honestly. But overall, I think it was fine. Again, for me, Nomad. I said this on the Ramble earlier, but Nomadland is going to be one of those movies to me that I think is going to be mostly forgotten about in 5 years. Like, I don't think anyone's going to remember much of it. I don't think that it has a timeless quality to it. I think it's just okay, and I would have almost preferred to have seen anything else win. We didn't review it on the show, for whatever reason. We talked about it briefly, but it was fine. I think it's okay. I would have preferred something a little bit more of a daring choice, like Promising Young Woman or Judas and the Black Messiah. Would have been something that I think would have been a little more interesting, and maybe a little more like kind of socially poignant. But at least it wasn't Mank. Which I didn't mind Mank, but not
not for that. Anything else you want to add before we move on?
No, it's crazy to be talking about the Oscars in late April, but we'll see what happens next year, and if it's it's strange because it's like we seem to be hitting a point where all of the movies that were like in the can are out now, and it's really slow right now. And I wonder if that's just because they're like it's finally catching up to the period of time where movies weren't being made as often. So we'll see.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have Mortal Kombat.
Kill them. I am Sub-Zero.
Wins. You fucking beauty.
Fatality. Anyway. This is, of course, based on the video game that made parents in the 1990s very upset. My mom included. This is this debuted on HBO Max and in theaters. Cody, tell us about Mortal Kombat and what you thought of it.
Yeah, but look, plot wise, it's a little convoluted.
What?
So I think it's almost like the plot doesn't really matter when it comes to this movie, because I think that if anyone is a fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise, you're not looking for subtlety in anywhere at all along the way, and so it's sort of about how would we describe this here? Because it's about
they're like Earth's great. They're like fighters for the realm that they belong to, that are tasked with competing in this tournament, Mortal Kombat, to decide the fate of the Earth realm, something like that. Spoiler alert, it never actually gets to the tournament.
Well, so that's what I was going to say, is that it's a strange thing in that it is constantly referencing a tournament that doesn't happen. At least not in a traditional sense. I mean, I think you can make the argument that the tournament piece is like the actual fights that happen within. And the Wikipedia page certainly tries to make that case.
I mean, not really, but I disagree with the Wikipedia.
I do too. But so it's not the traditional like one-on-one fight, as in like you would think about in a tournament, as much as it is these people from different realms, fighting for each other for control, and it returns a lot of the well-known Mortal Kombat characters from the franchise: Sonya Blade, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Kano.
Though it creates a brand new one.
Yes.
Instead of Johnny Cage, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, and here's what I will say about the movie. When the action is happening, it delivers on the like intense gore fatality type stuff. There's people being sawed in half, and there's all kinds of guttings and limbs that fly, and with some admittedly janky special effects at times that don't really look so great sometimes. But it delivers on that. It also delivers on being a hard R. So if you're someone who wants your Mortal Kombat with a lot of blood and a lot of violence and a lot of cursing, you're in luck.
If you want the Sega Genesis version, not the Super Nintendo
yeah,
version.
Exactly. Now, anytime that there is not violence, this movie is boring. It gets so in the weeds with its mythology that it's just not entertaining or interesting. I didn't care about anything that was happening plot wise, story wise, mythology wise. And it's really dragged down by some really awful performances. Josh Lawson, who plays Kano, everyone is talking about how he's the MVP of the movie, and he's sort of wisecracking kind of guy. A dropping topical reference, which someone pointed out that all of them are Warner Brothers IP that he mentions.
Was it?
Because he said Harry Potter was one of them. He referred to someone
I remember that
as
one.
Harry Potter, and then there was one more. I can't remember what it was. But
I didn't catch that, but I remember him mentioning Harry Potter. But
yeah, I think is the one who kind of, quote unquote stands out. And aside from that, I think that everyone else is pretty bad in here. The main actor, I don't think is very good. The woman who plays Sonya Blade is not very good.
they're all. I think there's a lot of Australians in the cast. Sonya Blade is Australian. I think like the main character's wife and daughter. I think it was very much a unknown cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, again, for me, it just Magic Mike was the other thing he referenced.
Oh yeah,
and I do believe Magic Mike is Warner. Yep, it's Warner Brothers. So they were dropping Warner Brothers references IP.
I'm surprised that like the X-ray thing didn't come on for Amazon. Like you can watch it now on.
Oh yeah. That being said, if you're looking for intense violence that's super graphic and bloody and gory, and if you're a fan of the video game franchise, I think you're going to enjoy that part about it. But there's not enough of it, and the story is so boring that the whole thing gets kind of dragged down by, bad acting, bad story, and so it's not nearly as fun as it needs to be, I don't think.
You're way more generous about the action stuff than I am. I think it's one of those things that it's boring action too. Like I don't know. Did you ever see the original version, from the 90s? So there's two. I only ever saw the first one. The first one has Christopher Lambert as Raiden, and I believe Jason Scott Lee is in it. I think he was in every martial arts movie in the 90s, but that one's corny and it was fine. This one doesn't feel like really much of an improvement over that one, other than it's rated R and can be extremely violent and somewhat better special effects if you count Goro being a guy that a CGI creature that looks like the Hulk, like literally just like the Hulk. Over being a guy like in an animatronic suit. Fuck this movie. This movie sucks. Like the battles, the fights weren't even fun to me. Like there was the one thing where Liu Kang or who's the guy with the blade hat? I forget.
Oh,
I don't. Liu Kang.
I don't know my Mortal Kombat characters.
I don't know. They're no Street Fighter characters. They're not as nearly as memorable and weird as the Street Fighter characters. But the saws the Bat Lady in half, lengthwise, like that was okay. But everything else is just I didn't care. None of it was fun enough. Like the God, and then the idea that it's just lead up to a tournament that doesn't happen. Like they talk about this tournament the whole time and they never get to the fucking tournament.
Yeah.
When are they gonna get to the fireworks factory, Cody?
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie sucked. And look, and for what it's worth, the Sub-Zero Scorpion stuff is probably the biggest lore they have, and even that is very thinly stretched. I thought that the main character was going to become Scorpion.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was going to revive his dead ancestor from hell.
Yeah.
And anyway, I hated this movie. I hated it so much. I'm not a big Mortal Kombat fan game-wise anyway. it's fine, and I played it when I was a kid, but there's just nothing there to this movie, and it's just it's oh man, it's so boring in between the action, and even the action's boring to me. But anyway, what's your grade for Mortal Kombat?
C- for me. I don't. It's a bad movie. I was entertained by a lot of the fighting scenes and like the intense gore, but it's not a great watch by any stretch.
I'm gonna give it a D. I didn't like this. It was D for dumb. But it is on HBO Max right now if you want to watch it through sometime in May, 30 days, whatever it is. Anyway, let's move on to our last movie, Stowaway.
Okay. Exactly how much time do we have before it's too late?
Technically, 20 days.
Okay. Then we should take that time.
No, we need as much of that margin of error as possible in case anything else happens.
Margin of error? What hypothetical situation could be worse than the one we're in right now?
Worst case scenario is he still dies, but we die along with him.
How?
What's left of the algae is hanging on by a thread as it is.
So you're fine just giving up on a person because the risk...
Realistically, every day he's still here, it's a danger to all of us. I am telling you, Hyperion has anyone with a PhD down there trying to work this out.
And they're not here. And maybe we can think of something that they haven't.
All right, so this is a
Weird.
I didn't mean to have that in there. Sorry, I forgot to edit that out. The clip had that built in. This is a Netflix film, as you could tell. It's a very small cast. You have, as you saw in that scene, basically four people. Three of them: Toni Collette, Andrew. What am I trying to say? Anna Kendrick, and Daniel Day Kim. And I forget the actor's name who plays the Stowaway. I don't know that I've seen him in anything before.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar.
Anyway, so the idea is that this guy stows away on the rocket. Cody, tell us about Stowaway and what you thought of it.
Yeah, so it's about these group of scientists who are going on a mission to Mars to try to do research about it being an habitable planet, and it's a 2-year mission, and they find an extra person on board, and they have to basically decide what they're going to do about him, and then a catastrophe happens where an integral part of the ship breaks, and it kind of puts them at risk. I was sort of flabbergasted at how frustrating and bad this movie is. Because I think it does almost everything wrong, in my opinion.
Really?
It's, first and foremost, the pacing is slow as shit. Like, the movie just, it takes forever to get going. But like, you know, it kind of creates this self-contained problem. And I think once the problem is revealed, and I'll be fine spoiling because I don't think anyone's really going to watch this movie. But basically what happens is there's a part of their ship that breaks that provides oxygen for them.
It's like the carbon dioxide scrubber.
Yeah, it's the carbon dioxide scrubber. And so basically what happens is that it breaks and there's only enough oxygen for 3 people, and there's a 4th on board because they find this guy, and so they have to find a way of trying to figure out like what the hell to do about the situation so they don't all die. And like, here's the thing about it is that I think once that moment happens where they have the realization, I don't think anyone behaves like an actual person in that situation. And I know that's a problem that you have a lot of the time, where people just stop behaving like people. And it's not a good representation of the human experience. And I think this whiffs hard on that because, I think a big problem is that, you have Anna Kendrick's character, who is supposed to be like the compassionate human one. She plays a doctor, and they don't. I don't think they do a good enough job of explaining this guy, this mystery guy,
Yes.
of like who he is, why they become attached to him. The relationships are not fleshed out. The bonds don't get created strongly enough, and if this was like a meditation on like having to make a really difficult decision, or a meditation on, you know, human sacrifice, or you know, trying to, because I mean, there's a real ethical dilemma that comes up in this, but it's just not explored. And it's so fucking weird to me that the movie is like a series of people tripping over themselves to try to sacrifice themselves for this one person that they don't even know, really. And what happens is it all culminates in a climax of a moment of sacrifice that feels entirely unearned. And I think that is the biggest part, or the biggest problem with the movie, is that the character who gets the sacrifice is not earned. The reason why the sacrifice is happening doesn't make sense. The fact that nobody has just killed the fucking guy makes no sense. Like if we're really talking about what would happen in this situation, it's completely unbelievable that they would even for a second not take out the fucking guy who's not supposed to be there.
Well, so that's a major problem I have with the movie is you hit it on the head when you said that when people stop acting like people. I think that moment happens much earlier when they find a fucking stowaway in their rocket.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be, you know, if you know anything about these type of, you know, like a space mission, everything is accounted for. And how did this fucking guy get in there?
Yeah, they never explain it.
Yeah, and with the typically in this situation, in this film situation, this would be like a horror scenario. This would be something sinister is happening, and this guy is posing a threat. But no, he's just a nice, dumb guy who happened to fucking find himself locked in this rocket somehow, and he's a super nice guy and great, and everybody's fine with him. But so there's no conflict there. There's no question as to what the fuck is this guy doing here? Why is he here? How did we miss this guy being here? What the fuck?
Well, and also the way that they set it up is that it's something sinister. The way that the filmmaking of it is like this. There's a mystery guy, and like, what is he doing? Like,
and he's bleeding. Yeah, he's wounded.
Yeah, like for the first 30 minutes of this movie, I thought it was going to be like a space horror, and then then like you said, he's just a nice guy. Like it's like
you're a great guy.
The treatment of this movie is, so they find a stowaway character, and he's bleeding, and then he falls from the ceiling, and then he just turns out to be like a good dude.
Yeah, they hang out with him. It's fine. So
yeah.
So you mentioned the climax, and at this point, I was checked out of the movie because look, I feel like we've seen this movie 100 times in the last like 5 years. This feels like Midnight Sky. This feels like Ad Astra. This feels like the parts of the Martian that were on that stupid space station that weren't good. So it feels like the same thing we've seen a bunch of times. So I was kind of checked out. And then when the climax rolls around and you see which character and why which character is sacrificing themselves, I had to stop and rewind it to make sure I didn't miss something.
Mm-hmm.
But nope, it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right, because the premise is that the person who probably should be doing that can't do it for whatever reason. And it's not because he's hurt even. I think it's just because he doesn't have the training or whatever. And so, like, one person has to make a sacrifice so that the rest can survive. And the character that ultimately makes the sacrifice, again, it just doesn't make any sense. She doesn't have those qualities.
And, well, yeah, you kind of spoil who it might be, but it's Anna Kendrick, goddammit. Yeah. The biggest star in the movie is the one who said. But the puzzling thing about it is there's no sense of urgency for her to complete this mission because we've already been told this. So the mission is to retrieve oxygen from the rocket because it's fuel. It has liquid oxygen fuel. So they are able to go to this rocket that ferried them to this space station or whatever it's supposed to be. So they're going to retrieve it, and they're able to supplement their oxygen supply with it. Meanwhile, they're in the midst of a 2-year mission, I guess like a week into it, right? there's no real timetable here. You know, they're like 10 days into this 2-year mission. So they go to retrieve the oxygen, and then, oh no, there's a solar storm. So you got to get in the radiation bunker here. Well, Anna Kendrick still goes out to retrieve the oxygen. She could have just fucking waited, right? Am I missing something here?
She could have waited to
so the solar storm was over.
No, they said that it was going to last hours.
No, but I mean, what was the count? What was the urgency to get the oxygen right then? Because they were going to run out of oxygen like a month before they would get to Mars.
So the urgency was
it broken or something?
No,
See, that's what the problem I have with the movie. I'm like, I don't understand.
Didn't she leave it running so it was like bleeding oxygen and they had to go get it?
Maybe. Okay.
Because I think they have that shot of the oxygen leaking as she's when the storm comes.
Okay.
That must have been it. But yeah, I just it was intensely frustrating because I feel like there's a good idea in here. Like I said, like the story of sacrifice is almost inherently in there, but the motivations behind it just feel completely off base. And especially how, again, I don't feel like it's a realistic, and again, it's a science fiction movie, but humanistically, it does not feel like an accurate depiction of how these people would behave in the moment. Like, it would, like, it's almost shocking that they don't go with the cutthroat, because that's what you would almost expect. And I don't know if they were trying to subvert expectations by not going cutthroat with it, but at the end of the day, it just rings false. The whole thing rings false. Every bit of it.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your grade for what's this called? Stowaway.
I'm also giving this a C-, and it sucks because there's talent there. And I was gonna say too, it's so weird to me to hear Toni Collette speak with her normal accent because she so rarely uses her Australian accent. But it's a bad movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a C- also. It's just I was totally bored by it. And you know, one of the things that always makes me laugh is when these movies go to great lengths to explain why they're not going to be zero gravity on the, like, okay, let's start spinning this thing. Like, okay, fine. You didn't have to explain it to me. I get it. Yeah. I get it. You didn't have the money. But that is available on Netflix now if you want to watch it. That is going to do it for this week. Next week, what the hell is happening?
Next week we have the Mitchells versus the Machines.
Oh yeah.
And we also have Without Remorse.
Oh yes, with Michael B. Jordan. I don't know. I was reading about there was an AV Club article about the Jack Ryan series. Like the series of movies. Mm-hmm. How familiar are you with those? Have you seen any of them?
Yeah, I've seen the was it Chris Pine?
I see. That's the one I didn't see. Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit.
Yeah, that's the one I've seen.
Because I've seen The Hunt for Red October, Clear and Present Danger, and Patriot Games.
I haven't seen any of those.
The Sum of All Fears is the Ben Affleck version. So Willem Dafoe played this John Clark character in Clear and Present Danger, and then Liev Schreiber played him in Sum of All Fears. So I'm curious to see what the take is, because those are like kind of crazy guys. I'm curious to see what the take on this character will be with Michael B. Jordan. It doesn't seem to be like he's crazy, but I don't know. Anyway, another by the way, another Paramount movie that got sold to Amazon.
Yep.
Prime or Amazon, when they have their own streaming service. So anyway, if you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. You can find us on Twitter at CineSnob, Facebook, CineSnobNet. Cody, you have the Ramble.
Yeah, Ramble Tuesdays, Ramble Radio Tuesdays, Fridays, and Ramble Radio on Wednesdays. And a special shout out to my good buddy Jerry Rocha. He starts chemotherapy tomorrow.
Oh man, yeah.
And wishing him all the best.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's a rough one. But he's in good spirits, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as about as well as you can be in that situation. So
yeah, well, I'm pulling for him, man. You told me about that, and that was a kick in the ass. That's
yeah,
really terrible. diagnosis. Anyway, yeah, all the best to him. Also, you can read me. I've got some stuff on the Hard Times. I'm working on one right now. My first one in a while. I think my last Hard Times article came out on January 6th, so it kind of got lost in the insurrection news cycle.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we go?
No, I think that about does it.
All right. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafania.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit CineSnob.net. See you next week.